Hello, good evening, good morning, everyone. So I'm doing I'm doing this video because I realized that I I miscalculated my tarot year card. And so what I want to do, and this is like a little bit of remind homework for me, to be careful when you calculate numbers and when you're working with personality cards, soul cards, and year cards in relation to the tarot when it comes for your birthday each year. So I figure I would do I don't want to say a refresher video because I think I may have spoken about this, not exclusively in another video, but I may have mentioned it in happenstance in a video. So let me just fast forward and just take this to where I am today. So I thought this year, and I don't know where I came up with this because the adding the numbers made no sense to me. Your year card, and I'll explain the tarot soul and the personality cards, how those are broken down too. Your year card, I should say it's the current year tarot card, and these are these are all assigned with the major arcana. But at the start of this year, for some reason I thought my year card was the star, and I came across a few other posts of people who had a similar year card. And basically, the year card is you're adding your birth month, the day that you were born, you add those together, and the current year. Okay, so you do your birth month, let's say it's 1, your birthday's 2, just to make it easier, and 2021. So we have 3, 2, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I did that correctly. 1, 2, 2021 for the year card. So that would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So your year card, your birth, using your birth date, would be the card of strength. Okay. Another thing that you can do, and I'll retract to what I was saying about the star card. You can add up the number exclusively, that only the number of the year, and that's also the major arcana card that rules, or I shouldn't say rules, but is of guidance for that year. So we're 2021. So what's the card that we have here for this year? It's a Hierophant. We're in a 5-year. And so the Hierophant is actually my sun sign major arcana card, because the Hierophant or the priest is normally associated with the sign of Taurus, which is my sun sign. So you could take that also into account of influence based on your actual current year birth card. Okay, so you could put those two archetypes together. We have the strength. If your number is an 8 for this year, we have the strength card, and we have which is ruled by Leo, and then we have Taurus for the Hierophant for the 5-year. But let me just go back a little bit, and then I'll show you the cards that I have from my chart, and just kind of reflect upon the previous year and this year in relation to the current major arcana card for this year of the Hierophant. So for some reason, I thought my card was the star, and I don't know where I got that calculation, and I went back and I added numbers again, and it's like, this doesn't add up to the star. You know, I don't have an 18 when I add up my birth numbers, even with the year that I was born and also the current year. I'm nowhere near the star. So my card for this year is actually the card of strength. And I pay attention as much as I can to the year cards. So I skipped, something happened and I actually skipped, I skipped going through the arcana and paying attention. I changed something where I thought last year was the Tower card for me, and then and then I moved into the Star, which makes no sense because the order of the major arcana is sequential. So if we have a leap year, then that's where the numbers of that year, the current year versus your with your birth date, when you add those numbers together, that's where the numbers will start jumping. So you'll see a sequence of like maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we'll have a leap year. And then depending on how the numbers add up, you may find yourself falling back a little bit in the major arcana or jumping ahead. You may be skipping a few cards. We had leap year, I believe 2019 was our last leap year. 2018 or 2019, it was a few years ago. So if again, like I was saying, if you see yourself in a sequential order with the major arcana, when we have that leap year, it's going to throw those numbers off a bit. And that's totally fine. So my year last year was the Chariot. And that is ruled with Cancer. And that changes everything because, like I said, I don't know why I was stuck with my head that last year was a Tower year. Obviously, 2020 was what it was, and 2020 was ruled by the Emperor. The number 4 was a 4 year, so everything is supposed to have been building foundation and whatnot, but 2020 could have been that form of building a foundation because everyone globally was more or less sequestered, depending on where they're located. So you're basically not doing much of anything. And this, depending on what you were working on or whatnot, that influence of the 4 and the Emperor could have actually been of great benefit for quite a few people when it came to finding motivation and taking opportunities to finally work on things that you may never have had that opportunity to do. That was me last year with the Emperor. But my card was for Cancer was the Chariot. The Chariot deals a lot with, we would see the representation of the Chariot, someone manning that area, and we would see the Sphinx or the horses, opposing colors, black or white. But some, for the most part, the Chariot shows those 2 opposing energies not active. And so depending on the card or depending on the deck. So when now in hindsight, realizing the Chariot, it's also related to willpower. How much are you willing to take charge of the changes and the shifts that took place last year? And I used probably more influence of that Emperor card as guidance for the Chariot. So I used that Emperor, which is ruled by Mars and Aries, and the Chariot, which is Cancer, Water, Moon. I actually use that fiery movement, and I have a little bit more fire in my chart. So I was able to not let the Cancer, the emotional sensitivity of what was going on at the time, dampen me. So I'm going to show you this card here from the Guild Tarot. So this is how I felt last year. Last year, I delve into my practice more so than any other year, and I think a lot of people did too because of the circumstances. There was an upswing of tarot purchases and delving into different forms of metaphysical practices and stuff for last year. So with this Chariot for 2020, being under the eye of the emperor, I felt I used this energy. I actually took those horses. Those horses are our inner inner guides, and I put them to work. I got excited. Cancer-wise, emotionally, I got motivated. And I found by going more into my practice, it helped me connect more intuitively. It allowed me to see things in the subtle nuances in my practice that I didn't see before. And so I was very grateful for that. So the Chariot can be a challenge for people, but a lot of these cards that are challenging, that have challenging archetypes or imageries, those are wake-up calls. Those are calls like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. And so I started, and I worked into my practice, and I met some wonderful people in various tarot metaphysical communities to exchange ideas. So I felt 2020 was a good year in that respect, and having that motivation, but also building the foundation, starting to find the direction of where I wanted to put my practice. I didn't get the answer, and I'm still working on it, but I'm finding as I'm going in this journey that I am heading into a specific direction. So the Chariot influence with the year of the Emperor of 2020, I felt for me, fire and water. I know it's kind of conflicting, but I really allowed that fiery movement of taking challenges and just moving forward with your creativity and what you really believe in, that willpower, which is also part of the Chariot. I just went with it. So this card I chose out of all the decks because we're actually seeing the Chariot in motion, and it's making its journey on the path. It's going in a direction. So I thought that was wonderful, and just hindsight as to how last year shaped for me. One thing to take into consideration is when it comes to those birth dates. So let's say you're 1, 2, let's say, okay, 2021, let's just stick with that as a birth date. What you can do is, if you want to start that particular year card, if you want to start it at the start of the new year, like of January 1st, to represent that entire year, you can go ahead and do so. Or if you want to do it on your actual birth date, and I lean more towards doing that. So if your birthday is, let's say, what's today's date? Let's say it's November 7th. Okay, so you would do your year card starting on your birth date. Okay, let's say November 7th. And that card that is your year card for your birth date, you would start on that date. Okay, so you would do from November 6th, or I'm sorry, November 7th, all the way to November 7th of 2022. And that will be your card of influence for the year. Even though it's spilling into the next year, I feel it works better because it's connecting specifically on your birth date and those energies, as opposed to the beginning of the year to the end of the year, to the beginning of the next year. You're not getting the full benefit of it being using that year card. You're not getting the full benefit of it to fulfill your birth time. So from November this year to November of the following year. So that's what I would recommend for using your year card. So my year card for this year now, since everything's clear for me, is the Strength card. And actually, this is my soul card, and it's also my personality card. So the way that you find out what your personality card is, your personality is your birth date, your birth month, the date, the year you were born, not the current year, the year that you were born, same thing. And I And I wrote the description of how to figure that out in the description. So add your birth year, your month, your date, not necessarily in that order. And if your number is anywhere between 0 and 22, because there's 22 cards in the major arcana, the 22nd card is considered the Fool. So the Fool for some people will be counted as 0, but it's actually 22. Okay, so if your number is 22, the Fool card is associated with that number. If you get 23 and above, that's when you reduce the numbers down. So if you get 28, 8 and 2 is 10. This is for your personality card. Okay, so we have 8 and 2. That's 10. 10 would be your personality card. And then what you would do is to find your soul card, you add that 1 plus 0, 10, 1 plus 0, which is 1. That's a magician card. That is your soul card. That is your soul number as well. Okay. So if your numbers are between 0 and 22, your personality card, 22, you do not reduce that number down. Only for your soul card. You add 2 plus 2, that's 4. Your soul card is the Emperor. The only time you reduce that number down is when your numbers are above 22. So if it's 23 and above. Okay. So if you're finding a personality card and it's 18, okay, that personality card comes from your year, your birth year and your date and your month. Do not reduce the number down because there's no need to. The only time you reduce the number down is to find that soul card. So if it's 18, 8 plus 1 is 9. That 9 card is the Hermit. That will be your soul card throughout your life and also your number. Okay, so my soul card and personality card, because when I add the numbers, they came to 8. I didn't have to reduce the numbers down. So my soul number is 8 and my soul card is 8. And that is associated with strength, but it can also be associated with justice, depending on if you work with a certain system. Like with this card here, we have strength. This stays in the order for Leo. Now in some systems, this reverts to justice, which is Libra. And that's just based on the correspondences that were used into a particular deck where they reversed, and I believe it's in the Doth system, where the 8 and 11 was reversed. But since I pull in astrology with the tarot, I like this order because 7 for the Chariot is Cancer, 8 we have for Leo, 9 Virgo, so on and so forth for the Hermit. But this year, 2021, I'm the Hierophant, as I mentioned. This is the Priest card. Okay, this rules Taurus. So I would start it on my birth date of this year. I'm sorry, this card. And take it from my birth date in May all the way into 2022 of that birth date for me. So May 2021 to May 2022. This will be my card of influence. But like I said, you can use it. You could backtrack or backdate it to the beginning of this year, to the following year. But I feel it's best to stick to your birthday because then you get the full benefit of of this year and also going into the next year. So this card holds extra extra guidance for me because it is my soul and personality card, and it is the year that this card comes into influence. So I kind of have to reflect back and see in the last few months for my Cancer Chariot transition, where we have everything in motion. Okay. And now harnessing that energy where it's a little bit more controlled. Okay, you're on your path, you're starting to feel, things moving. It's going to take time, but you're feeling, you're starting to see some results. But now it's to refine it, to take control and find that strength. Use the word right there, but also with the Hierophant, with the priest. Okay, I'm going to put these two cards together. Okay, there's a stillness that we see. And I like the placement here because we see the priest with the backdrop of still waters. And here we see the desert, the fieriness, the aridness of being in the desert. But there's a stillness. And that's something that I can relate to. Actually, I just realized this. I went to the desert. I went to the desert this year on my birthday. I just realized this. And look at this card that I pulled out and I'm holding. The experience was amazing. So this card of strength is of something very, very much important. So I feel like I need to take more control with the guidance of the Hierophant, which is, as I mentioned, my birth card. But then what's interesting is what's going to happen next year. Okay, so next year I'm moving from the Leo energy of my tarot year card under the guidance of the Hierophant. But then the Hierophant year is going to end, and then come the new year, we're going to be moving into the sign of the Lovers, the year of 6, because next year is 2022. And that's a good number when we have all those same numbers. It's a number that's showing balance and of communicating in many different ways. Moving a little bit towards harmony, like hopefully starting to see some results. So that's for next year for the Lovers. But my birth card from 2022 into 2023, we got Cancer, Leo, Chariot strength, the Hermit. So this stillness that I've been experiencing currently, and maybe will continue on into my birthday next year, this external stillness of control is now going to be moved internally. It's a wonderful pattern to see here. Under the guidance of the Lovers, okay, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. This is ruled by Virgo, which is also ruled by Mercury. They're both, Gemini and Virgo are both mutable signs. So this way of communicating and finding harmony through partnerships, maybe through a collaboration. The Lovers don't necessarily have to mean a physical person. It could, but I've also taken, when the Lovers card has come up for me, especially if it's not a personal business relationship, I also take that as a interpretation of the partnership within myself, between the way that my conscious and subconscious is communicating. Maybe there's going to be a meeting of the mind and the heart, more so. It's going to be a reflective time. So that's going to go from my birthday in May of next year into 2023. And I don't want to jump ahead into 2023 just yet. So it's interesting to see how this is all going to shape up. So take a look at your cards. And anyone who's watching this, I love to hear comments. I want to get your feedback. I want to get your experience. Look at where your soul and personality card is in relation to your year card being the current year. Remember, your soul card is that number that you get. If you have to reduce it, remember, you reduce the numbers, anything that's 22 and above. Well, let's say 23, okay? 22 is related to the Fool, so that counts as, excuse me. If you reduce that down, that becomes the 4 for the Emperor. So look at your birth date, okay, and see how those cards relate to each other. For me, I just have one card, but for some people, they may have a different card for their personality card and a different card for their soul card. And it doesn't, excuse me, it doesn't mean that you're complicated. It just means that there's going to be more on your journey that you will have for guidance. So I think that works wonderfully. And so keep that in mind. Okay, keep that in mind. I'm going to read something here from Mary Kay Greer, and I saw recently on Justin Michael's channel that he's going to be interviewing Mary Kay Greer, who is actually a great influence for me to really focus on my tarot practice like over 30 years ago. So I think that's coming up the third week in November. But if I'm not working, which I believe I'm not, I'm going to be there because I owe a lot to Mary Kay Greer in exploring my tarot practice. So she has here, 22 represents 0, the Fool, and reduces to 4. Oh, interesting. I got this backwards. But in this case, the 4 is the personality card. And the Fool, the 0, is actually the soul card. Ah, okay. People with this, let's see, this is an especially creative path in which all 3 cards operate as both personality and soul cards. So that's what I was saying. For those who may have 3 cards, like you'll have your birth card, okay? And then you're going to have your personality card, and then you're going to have your soul card. So the current year, personality card, if it does reduce down, and then your soul card. All of those 3 cards will add up. And it says people with this sequence must learn to communicate their individual creative expressions. Their personal identity and sense of self will be combined with their life and soul purpose. Their ability to relate to others will depend on a harmony of vision and purpose with them. This is a quote from Mary Kay Greer from The Tarot for Yourself. It's a workbook with exercises. This is how old this book is. This is the first book that I got that just got me diving deeper with the tarot, and I still have it. I'm not going to get rid of it. It's a very important book. So, okay, so in this case, I thought you would reduce the 2 and 2 to make your soul card the Emperor, but apparently with this book, with Mary Kay Greer, she says the soul card's the Fool. and the personality card is the Emperor. So she didn't explain too much further about it, just from what I read there. But yes, look in the description, the way I broke it down, to find your personality card and your soul card. Your soul card, whatever number you have, is also your life path number, and that number is of influence. If you see certain numbers that come up again and again, there's a good chance that that could be your life path number. Mine is 8. 8 is associated with infinity. So I can maybe interpret that I have an infinity amount of stuff that I need to do, and I don't know if I'm ever going to get through it. But that's the strength. That which makes us weak makes us stronger, and I embrace these cards, these current year cards that I have, that passed for last year, currently where I am, and into next year. So yes, double check those numbers, and if you have any questions, let me know, and I will be of guidance to you the best way that I can. So I think it's important to watch those cards. Maybe put them on your altar, the current year card that we're in. So potentially put out that Hierophant card, add the current year with your birth date to those numbers. That will be your year card. Put that up on the altar. And if you have 2 cards, a tarot card, or I'm sorry, the personality card and the soul card, if you end up with 2 cards, put those on the altar as well, because you'll start seeing a pattern developing in the way that your life has already shaped up to be, up to where we are right now. So that's the breakdown. That's the breakdown of the personality soul cards in relation to the current year and our birth year. If something wasn't clear, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to explain it further. And if you want me to do a live, I can do that as well. So follow these cards, and you can use this too as part of your readings. If you do your readings for yourself, some people don't like doing readings for themselves. I have no problem with it. I'm able to separate my feelings and anything that I get from those cards as signs. So I'm very comfortable in reading for myself. Alrighty, that's it. Have a wonderful day, evening. I look forward to reconnecting again. I have a few videos I'm going to be popping up this week, so feel free to take a look. Let people know about the channel, subscribe. I have a website. All that information is on the description, but I always feel like I need to plug it in a little bit more so people know. I have a 15% discount currently on my website for all readings. That expires next Friday at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. So if you're interested in me doing a reading for you, I am more than happy to do that for you. Okay, until then, you take care of yourself, everyone. I'll see you soon.